So Carney met with the blob yesterday. On Monday in the House of Commons, Pierre had a lot of questions.
Prime Minister promised that he was going to negotiate a win with the president, that he'd have a deal by July 21st. Here we are in October, and tomorrow the Prime Minister is going to the White House to announce this deal. Surely he's not just going for a photo op and to make more excuses.
No, yeah, photo ops are the worst. I think what Pierre sometimes forgets is that as leader of the opposition, you don't really do much. I mean, shit, up until recently, you weren't even allowed in there. And look, I get it. This up and down and back and forth, it's exhausting for everybody. But have you ever listened to the blob? You need a roadmap just to join his thoughts together. And so as part of coming up with a deal, there's a process. Now, the petty part of me would love for Canada to say, fuck you, we're gonna do what we want to secure what we need. Diplomacy be damned. But this is why I'm not in politics. And we've seen different iterations of the blob. We want to take over Canada. Oh, we're mad about fentanyl. We're just gonna tariff the shit out of you. And now we're sort of in a fuzzier, almost flirty phase. Because at the little presser yesterday, that's what the blob was doing. Just tapping him on the knee, trying to rub shoulders, calling him Mark. Which I really think is disrespectful, but I understand coming from the blob that calling somebody by their first name is actually kind of a term of endearment. It's not diplomatic, but neither's the blob. So do we have a deal? Not yet. Are we going to get to a deal? Maybe. Depends on whether the blob took his meds that day. Now, he had a lot of nice things to say about Carney. Nice man, but is tough. And like with any bully, I feel like he's been testing Carney. Is he going to stand up to my threats? Yes, we did. Is he gonna push back? Yeah, we kind of did. And now I feel like the bully kind of wants to be friends because he can't bully anybody, which takes the power away from the bully and fingers crossed allows for discussions. Now again, because we're sort of at the whim of his mood and things change so quickly, did we not get the deal by July? Clearly it's October, as Pierre pointed out. But I kind of like to weigh things regardless of how I feel in regards to how it's going. I like to think of where we would have been if somebody else had been elected and was prime minister. I tell you right fucking now, we'd be singing Stars and Stripes forever. Because Pierre wouldn't have stood up. Blob would have slimed all over Pierre. He can't slime over Carney. Now again, do I wish that things were going faster? Of course I do. But in terms of discussions and negotiations between the US and Canada, there's a lot to go over. And sure, it's easy to just throw on a tariff, but it's a lot harder to come up with an agreement, a consensus, if you will, so that the worst case scenario doesn't actually happen in perpetuity. Because we know the blob loves to toot his own horn. He thinks he's the greatest. He could be asked a question about one thing, and he talks about 48 other things. Like when the blob was asked why Canadians aren't coming to visit the US anymore. He talked about cars. Squirrel. Now look, I may not like everything that Carney's doing, but I don't know everything that Carney's doing. I will say this though. If I had to decide between trusting the Liberals and trusting the Conservatives as they stand right now, I'm flying a red flag. Not the bad kind, the liberal kind. Because when I think about the Conservatives and them wanting to, I don't know, fast track this bullshit jail not bail bill, it summarizes them. They are all show, very little substance, very little thought of impact outside of their little niche. Because that's what that bill was going to do. Have some pretty big impact, but fingers crossed not for people who look like them. Whereas I'm hopeful, because I love me some Sean Fraser, that when the Libs are saying that they are coming up with a bill for bail reform, etc., that it will be well planned out, well thought out, and make the appropriate changes. Because nobody wants career criminals running rampant, harming people. But you also can't just throw everybody in jail and say, whoopsie, good luck with that. Anyway, back to the blob. When listening to the reporter scrum, some of the answers absolutely had to do with tariffs and deals and things like that. But there was talk about Gaza and peace in the Middle East. I don't know what that looks like. I'm hopeful, but I know that was a sticking point. That was why the blob didn't like us very much. But now he's flirty and fun. The one thing that Carney and I have in common, bad poker face. Like intentionally, you have to make sure that you're not making any type of face. But sometimes Mark just can't keep it neutral.
Accused like a Crockett, this woman Crockett. I never met her, but she's a low IQ individual. I look at AOC that's based on common sense and strength and intelligence. I mean, we have the United States of America, and I say it all the time. Other leaders have told me this. Mark hasn't yet, but I think he would. A year ago, we were I'll tell you what, I'm getting calls from Democrats wanting to meet. I never even heard their names before, and they're claiming to be leaders. The Democrats have no leader. They remind me of Somalia, okay? You know? And I met the president of Somalia. I told
Anything the Prime Minister has done that's making it more difficult to reach a deal?
Say it?
Is there anything the Prime Minister has done that's making it more difficult or easier to reach a deal?
No, I think he's a great prime minister.
And there were so many more. So to summarize, as much as a lot of us would just like some kind of big action, I think you got to chip away at the blob. If that's what Carney and his peeps are doing, and they need to go down to Washington for lunch, have at it. We would be way worse off if Pierre was ever invited to the White House. Number one, ICE would detain Anna. And number two, he would have sold us out a long time ago. Because he doesn't know how to negotiate. Pierre only knows how to stomp his feet. And negotiations don't work when you have two big babies in the room.